Welcome to first practice for the Italian Grand Prix. Welcome to the Temple of Speed. It's the Autodromo Nazionale Monza. It's the last race of the European leg of the season, round 16 I should say, of 25 races. Monza is officially the fastest circuit used in F1 history. The track's 5.793 kilometres or 3.600 miles long. Top speeds typically hit around 350 kilometres an hour here through the speed trap. 11 corners, 4 to the left, 7 to the right, and 2 DRS zones between turns 7 and 8 and along the start-finish straight. They'll do 53 laps around here on Sunday, and it could be the quickest race ever if they complete those in less than 1 hour, 14 minutes and 19 seconds, and they'll be using these 3 tyres, C5 soft, C4 medium, and the C3 hard tyre. At the moment, the weather is set fair, and we are not looking to use the inters and the wets, but you never know. The rain comes in quickly around here, as it has done all season, as it did in the Netherlands last weekend, Corinne Chandok. But right now, beautiful blue skies, some clouds bubbling up above, but what a sight that is. The 75th Grand Prix around here on this track this weekend. It's a historic track, but it is beautiful.
It's stunning, isn't it? You're absolutely right. You walk in and you sense the history. You can, you just breathe in the memories of the past, don't you? The Niki Lauders and the Michael Schumachers from the 90s. You go back to the days of Sir Jackie Stewart. You really feel it's like going to Silverstone. You walk in to these places and you sense how important this is to Formula One, and that's why these fans are here. They're here to support Ferrari, who is also very important to Formula One. But I love it. I love coming here. And as you say, Rachel, beautiful day. 26 degrees out there, 42 degrees on the track, though, so that's pretty hot.
I mean, you've just experienced that running over from the paddock, haven't you?
Yes, the Sky Car, unhelpfully, is already other end of the paddock where the commentary box is, but I'm here. And, that's... it's just a joy to be back in Monza. As I said, there's a magic, isn't it? There's a magic to this place. It's a bit rough around the edges. It's not like the nice new shiny tracks in terms of the facilities, but it doesn't matter. This place has soul, and I love coming here.
Indeed, indeed. And as we look at Charles Leclerc there, you mentioned the Ferrari fans, but for one man, today is incredibly, incredibly special. I'm not talking about Ted Kravitz on this occasion, but Ted can tell us more all about it. Ted's down in the pit lane for us.
Thank you very much, Rachel. Thank you, Corinne. Yes, hello, everybody from the pit lane. Wow, well, this is the big one. The most successful Formula One driver of all time, Sir Lewis Hamilton, driving for the most historic, most successful, greatest Formula One team of all time, and that is the Scuderia Ferrari. The prancing horse, the team that's been in Formula One since the very start. It just fits, doesn't it? And when this deal was announced, way back when, a couple of years ago now, Rachel, I looked forward to this day. I look forward to this moment. I look forward to what's going to happen in about a minute and a half, because I thought, just imagine what it will be like when Lewis Hamilton drives out in a Ferrari at Monza. That's certainly something he's been thinking about as well. Let me describe the scene. A bit of tension as mechanics are just going along what they would normally do. Oscar Piastri is actually the first person you can hear behind me, as well as some of the cars later down the pit lane. Lewis is in the car. I can't really tell his thoughts just by the opening of his crash helmet, and because there's a monitor in the way, so I can't actually see his eyes anyway. But I can also see that they're taking the opportunity for his first run out in a Ferrari at Monza, Rachel, to be an aero flow viz test on the rear wing as well. Can you see the poly tape, the covering at the back of the car? So maybe not so much romanticism in it for Ferrari, because they want to do an aerodynamic test, but I'm sure it'll be a moment of real meaning for Lewis Hamilton in that scarlet number 44 car.
Indeed, I bet his heart rate's raised. Well, let's hear from him now then, talking yesterday about what this moment's going to mean to him.
I leave the garage tomorrow. It's going to be incredibly special coming into this circuit, and it just really reflects on when I was a kid watching Michael winning here, and now I get to have that opportunity, that experience of being on the receiving end of the Tifosi, and I want to give them absolutely everything this weekend to get the best result for them, because the passion and the support they've given me and this team is like nothing I've ever seen.
Well, this is that, well, it's the moment for Charles right now. We're watching Charles Leclerc leave the Ferrari garage. We had a VSC test, don't worry about that. That is all clear. Now there are 6 cars on track. And Charles Leclerc takes to the pit lane here in Monza. It's a huge, huge weekend. Jamie Chadwick joined us now in the commentary box. A huge weekend for Ferrari. Double DNF in Zandvoort. But they come here to their home track. And a track they should, in theory, with their car go well at. It does seem to come alive for them here in Monza, so it is a big weekend. They need to sort of bounce back. I think there's so much excitement around this team coming into this season, and then to have the sort of first half of the year go the way it did, here's the moment that Lewis Hamilton's been speaking about. What must he be going through? You pulled out of the garage. I know it's not quite the same, but that moment when you first go out with a special occasion, honestly, never anything like this. I saw him go out onto the pit wall to greet the fans, greet the Italian fans, and it must be so special. And the emotion of this place, I think, is what Ferrari is all about, and it's what made his decision to go to Ferrari. It's a big part of that. So now he's finally here. Obviously, you had a bit of it in Imola, but I think this place comes alive like no other.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing, when you mentioned pulling out of the garage, it made me think of the first time I pulled out of the garage in a Formula 1 car. It was at a Barcelona test. And I pulled out of the pits and I followed Michael Schumacher in a red Ferrari.
Wow.
And I just thought, this is surreal. And you know, I hope he's feeling that sort of excitement.
We need to put the headrest pads on when I come back in, if possible.
Understood.
Alex Dunn in Oscar Piastri's car in this FP1 session. We've also got, you might have seen on your screen a moment ago, out in Franco Colapinto's Alpine as they run young drivers in this session.
Yeah, just to finish up the point, I hope Lewis is enjoying the moment. You know, he's obviously in a slightly difficult position in terms of how the season's gone, and it's not gone to plan, and most recently, of course, at Zandvoort. But there's some moments which will never happen again, like pulling out of the pit lane for the first time at Monza in a Ferrari. So I hope he gets, you know, allows himself, shall we say, a few seconds to at least reflect and enjoy that.
Yeah, it's a shame he's got that penalty this weekend carried over from Zandvoort. I'm sure we'll go into that a little bit later on. But yes, I mean, they should go well here. Charles is thinking that a win is very unlikely. It would almost need a miracle for that to happen around here. McLaren looks so fast. But they should go fairly well. So let's keep an eye on how they get on track then. As I mentioned, 2 rookies out there. Alex Dundas goes to the top of the times there with his lap in Oscar Piastri's car. Pity. Oh, this Polly Bowman radio. Debris on the main straight already.
Yeah, just looking, Rachel, obviously, you know, we're used to coming to Monza, we're used to seeing everybody run a low drag rear wing, and looking at the McLaren here, is this where the debris going to come off? Oh no, he's just gone straight to the first chicane. Yeah, he decided not to attempt going across the curve potentially.
Plenty of logos on the back of his car too.
And no lock up there. But yeah, just talking about the rear wings, all of the teams obviously run a low downforce package, a very unique track here. The only true low downforce track on the entire Formula 1 calendar now. But what's interesting for me is Ferrari essentially brought last year's rear wing and adapted it to this year's car. So they made a few mods, but it's basically last year's rear wing. Whereas McLaren made the point that they have developed a wing for Monza specifically. So that's an interesting use of the cost cap, right? You know, the teams have all got a fixed allocation of money that they need to put into their whole program, including designing updates and fixing crash cars and all this sort of stuff. So yeah, Jamie, I don't know what your thoughts are, but it's interesting to me that a lot of teams, you know, have carried over parts from last year, but McLaren, despite basically guaranteeing the championship, felt the need to go and develop a Monza special.
We've seen it before with Ferrari though. I think using what they know might work and sort of evolving that and kind of taking that philosophy forwards. I think for this year we've seen them get a little bit lost and maybe coming back to something that they know from last year. Obviously did win the race last year. It wasn't the outright fastest car, but they knew that it had performance, and I think maybe going back to that is giving them a bit of assurance and maybe correlates better to the car that they currently have. Gives them a baseline to work from compared to what they have. We just saw on screen there as Lewis Hamilton goes quickest, which will please the home fans here, even if it is very early on in first practice. Monaco has extended its deal to be on the calendar through to 2035. They had a deal till 2031. That's been extended to 2035, and will be going to the Principality. It's good news.
Yeah, I would have liked that part of that deal to be that they widen parts of the track and create overtaking opportunities, but
Maybe that's in the small print.
maybe it's, yeah, let's hope it's in the small print somewhere.
Charles going off, and now we've got Nico Hülkenberg as well. Everyone finding the limits at turn one, essentially, I guess.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a tailwind, isn't there, on the braking for that part of the track, the Variante Rettifilio chicane.
Well said.
And if you got a tailwind, that can create some stability issues on the braking.
A lot of this as well is often the feeling of this low downforce car is very different to the car that they've had in the last few races. Hungary, Zandvoort are two very, very different tracks, and the car feels very different. You're approaching turn one at 250 miles an hour now, and when you hit the brakes, the car isn't stuck to the ground like you have at the other tracks. It's moving around a little bit more. It suits some drivers a bit more, but that time that they're going into turn one for the first few times now, it takes a bit of adaptation and a bit of getting used to.
We had F2 running earlier, but we did have a lot of rain fall last night in this part of the world as we ran back from a restaurant last night in the pouring rain.
Yeah.
So
And just to add to what Jamie is saying, to sort of give you a bit more meat on the bone. So let's say you've got a high downforce car at Zandvoort. A driver like Lando Norris will know they can brake from 330 kilometers an hour down to 70 at the 70-meter board with a high downforce. When you've got the low downforce package here, they've got to brake at maybe 100 meters or 105 meters. And so they've got to get used to that and sort of judge, is it 95, is it 100? And that's why, I think certainly in practice, you might see a few more of these issues.
that's what practice is all about, though, isn't it? It's finding those braking points and the limits. Lando Norris has gone quickest overall by half a second from Charles. Okay, we did see Lance Stroll's comment about a bit of helmet lift, which is not what you want at a track with very fast long straights like this. I'm sure they'll get that sorted out for him. Ted is down in the pit lane. Ted.
Just a good opportunity. I sort of eyeballed, was looking at the rear wing angles of all the cars before the session, and now that you're seeing most cars out on track when you're not looking at, I can see Pedro de la Rosa. Is that on a big screen above the grandstand? When you're not looking at Pedro and his lovely face, you can see the angles, and actually the McLaren and the Ferrari have a greater rear wing angle than the Red Bull and the Mercedes, which I'm finding quite interesting. See if you can eyeball it yourself, Rachel, Karun and Jamie. See what you think. But yeah, McLaren both on that one with Dunn and Norris. It's really quite a steep angle, certainly compared to the Red Bull.
Thank you, Ted. We'll have a look out for that. Kimi Antonelli, as you can see on track, made his debut in FP1 last year. Was it you, Karun? We were commentating at the time, was it you?
Yeah.
When he went off the parabolic. Okay, let's have a listen to him coming into this weekend on how he's feeling a year since his debut on track.
I have good memories, but also really bad memories here. Yeah, I mean, it's a really special place, and I think it's going to be a special weekend because it's not just my second home race, but obviously, as you said, this is where it all started with the announcement. So that's why it's going to be a very special one. But you know, it's been very intense ever since, and yeah, but so far it's gone quite okay.
And when you look at car performance, where do you expect to be coming out this weekend?
But it's always tough to say because you know, the cars now are much, you know, they're getting closer and closer. But last year the car was actually, you know, looking at the results, especially in qualifying, they were up there. So this year it's been a bit of the trend that the car, where it's been good last year, was also quite good this year. So hopefully, you know, it's going to be the same, but we never know.
Well, here he is on track. Are we going to pick up the end of this lap?
Yeah, turning into the Parabolica, where obviously had the incident last year, and he comes up to the timing line. So this is his first proper lap. We'll pick up a little bit of a tour as he comes across the line, P12 at this stage. So a 22.9 for Antonelli in contra, but Russell's only on an out up. So Mercedes running slightly different programs, I think, at this stage. He's done a 23.3, Russell, hasn't he? But I think they're running slightly out of sync on the run plan.
Williams, Alex Albon gone top of the times there, and I was talking to Isaac Hadger during the week, and you'll see that interview later on, but he was saying the Williams will fly around here.
Yeah, I think they should be good, Jamie, isn't it?
It's generally a circuit that favours them. The last handful of years, always this track has been one that they earmark as strong circuit. I spoke about it in the press conference. It's a lot of corners that are 90 degrees. You're not in the corners for a long period of time, and where they struggle is the through corner balance. And they're very slippery in a straight line as well. And we've seen that in years gone by, even when I think Alex unfortunately had appendicitis and Nick de Vries jumped in and he was able to score points. So straight to the top of the times. Obviously they'll be early encouraged by that, but obviously science hasn't actually made it out of the pits yet, as Karun pointed out. So
he's out now, he's on an out lap, so he's just starting. But you know, Formula One's a funny business, right? Because you look at it, you look at the track profile, as you said, 90 degrees, long straights, low drag. The Williams always been good, and that's why nobody could really explain why they've always been good at Zandvoort. You know, it's a track full of high downforce requirement corners, long radius, you know, up and down. It's a complete, but they're really good there. That's not something that translates to other similar high downforce tracks, but we were talking about it last weekend, and they were a bit like, we don't know, but we'll take it. We're really good around here.
They were saying they have such a small operating window at tracks that aren't like this, where they don't have the advantages. The window is so tiny that we often see one of the drivers get into the top 10, but not the other.
Yeah, this is Alex Dunn here. He's just looking around, waving. What's he doing?
he asked for helmet padding earlier in the session. He still doesn't have the helmet padding in there. I don't know whether he's feeling that he's not super comfortable in the car or doing a slow lap. I'm not too sure.
Taking his hands off for a bit of a stretch as well on the straight, but yeah, he's going very slowly.
Yeah. So he has put a time on the board. He was third fastest in the Formula 2 practice, by the way. We just saw a shot of his dad in the pit garage. I was talking to him earlier. Is he not coming in the pits? No. This is very odd, isn't it?
Well, we'll see. We'll see how this lap unfolds. He's on, which tyres is he on? He's on the medium tyres.
Sometimes they do B-lim testing where they are asked to drive at a certain constant speed. You need to go on board as Max is radio.
Yeah, tires are starting to slide a little bit more. Okay, copy that.
Medium tyres, he's under 6 laps on those.
Yeah, I mean, they would ask the drivers to do these, as you say, the constant speed test, but there's no aero race on the car. There's,
a bit of dust in the background there.
Yeah, it's not Paul Aaron. Did he drop a wheel off at the second Lesmo? Or you think someone had dropped it off before? And
I'm not sure. There was a cloud of dust behind him as he came through.
I think a little snap coming off the curb there, the Variante Ascari chicane. So, Paul Aaron, he's been on reserve duty, not racing really this year, isn't it? So, it's a bit tricky for him because he's done a bit of testing, but to just jump in and get on with it, you know, for someone like Alex Dunn, who was in a race car 2 hours ago in an F2 and he's racing more regularly, it's a bit of a challenge for Paul, isn't it?
I actually think this is a very important session for Paul. I think those internally rate him very highly. He's done Pirelli tyre testing earlier in the year and done a very good job. We know the position at Alpine isn't certain with their drivers, or driver, you might want to say. So I think this is an important session for him. I think he's got a chance to prove himself. He obviously doesn't want to go out there and do what Kimi did last year, but he wants to put time on the board, and I think he wants to show that team that he should be in that car as Albon is continually going quicker and quicker.
He is. Just a final word on Paul Aaron. He was in the Sauber obviously at Silverstone and at Budapest, and just came behind Portoletto and Hadjar in the F2 last year.
So just to underline Ted's point, as Alex Albon goes even quicker, although he did pick up a slipstream there from Sonoda, the straight line speeds we're looking at across the speed trap. Leclerc 346, Albon we know had a little toe there for 346. This was the car that went to the gravel, Rachel. Liam Lawson dropping a wheel on the outside of the second Lesmo, and then Paul Aaron ran over that. So yeah, good spot.
I didn't imagine it.
No, good spot. There we go. But yeah, in contrast, I saw the McLarens were sort of 341, 340. So you know, what I don't know is whether Leclerc picked up a slipstream because we didn't get to see him come across the speed trap at the start of his lap. Actually, that's not true because the Albon lap was at the speed trap. He didn't have a toe, so I'm going to correct myself. 4 or 5k is the difference we're seeing between the higher downforce cars and the lower ones.
Steve Nielsen, Managing Director at Alpine, watching on right now.
It's his first weekend here, isn't it, in that position? I don't think he was in Zandvoort. I believe he started on Monday, so I think this is his first weekend trackside. obviously not his first weekend trackside with that team because he was there in the 90s.
Yes.
And along the way, he's been at Williams, he's been at Toro Rosso, he's been at Caterham, he's been at the FIA, he's been at Formula One. So yes, very much a paddock stalwart.
Yes, not an unfamiliar face to any of us as Max Verstappen goes quickest overall with a 120.7. Where do you think they'll sit this weekend, or Max will sit this weekend?
Very tricky to analyse, I think, at this point. If you look at performance in the last handful of races, I don't think they're going to be challenging anything close to McLaren, but obviously you can never count out Max. Pierre Gasly, this is something we are going to see a lot this weekend, is a lot of very slow cars.
Traffic is always an issue around here.
Exactly, it's a track you obviously want to try and find that slipstream. They're not going to be trying to find a slipstream here in practice so much, but at the same time, in my opinion, there are quite a lot of places you can get out of the way, but the speed difference is massive. If you think about the speed that they're coming out from the straight, it means that this offset in speed creates often these pinch points like we just saw there. So they're going to have to work that one out as the weekend goes because, yeah, there's always a few sort of hairy moments that you see.
Yeah, for a track that's actually quite long, considerably anyway, not one of the shortest on the calendar, it does look very short when all cars are out there on track. At the moment, though, Max Verstappen is topping the times with a 1:27 ahead of both Williams cars. Then Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari and Lando Norris in the McLaren ahead of Isaac Hatcher.
About it being 3 races before the end of this year, etc., etc. Now, we'll see what Red Bull decide. If I was there, I wouldn't do it this season. I would just leave him at Racing Bull. He's building confidence. He's sky-high confidence now. Let it just keep that momentum going. He's in a car, in a team, in an environment where he's driving well, delivering well, learning as well, because he is a rookie. And you want him to go into the winter sky-high on confidence, because guess what? Next season, if he is up against Max Verstappen, he's going to need to be confident with it. And it's a whole new car. Next year is a new Formula One. It's like a new category. The style of driving the car, the way you use the engine, the way you use the chassis is completely different. And therefore, if you stick him in a car this year in the Red Bull alongside Max, there's a chance that you might dent his confidence, and then you're trying to sort of try and get him to do things that change his style of driving for something that's not going to be relevant next year. So that's what I would do, but I'm not there.
I've spoken to him this weekend for a piece you'll see tomorrow, and I asked him about that, and I said, do you have any concerns about that second seat at Red Bull? And he said, no, because 2026 is a new car. It's a completely different car. So no, I've got no concerns whatsoever.
And I think if you look at this year, obviously Isaac's doing an incredible job and outperforming his teammates as a rookie. He's 20 years old, it's unbelievable. The performances he's putting in, but at the same time, as we've got Bortoletto going quite slowly in the pit lane here, or slow motion.
Yeah, Williams dropped something in their pit box there. I almost hit it. I couldn't turn for our box properly.
There's a cover for one of the wheel guns. I think you just saw the mechanic dropping it there.
But interestingly with Hadjar, is it Hadjar performing at an incredible level, which I'm sure there is a bit of it, but also that Racing Bulls, how competitive is that car? And then this starts the sort of conversation of where are they at with Red Bull and the car? Because Max Verstappen for me is a driver that can drive the wheels of any car, and it seems to be he's outperforming where that car really is, especially if you look at the teammate. But you talk a lot about, is it the culture within the team? Is it the environment where the second driver just can't, cope and perform at the level that they need to? Or is the Racing Bulls just at a level which is allowing Isaac Hadjar to be consistently in the top 8?
It was a question was put to Max in the pen last weekend. Would you like to get in the Racing Bulls and just see what that's like? And he looked down at the floor with a big grin on his face, and then he looked up and said, "You don't want me to answer that."
Well, we do, and I think we don't have to know about it. They can do it privately. I mean, nothing seems private these days in Formula One, but they can do something like that. And I think if it's not Max driving the Racing Bulls, then at least Isaac should test the Red Bull at some point to see where his level of performance is at, and they have all the metrics to know the level that he's at. But there's a definite misalignment in terms of how good that Racing Bulls is and where the Red Bull car is as well.
Interesting, interesting. Ted, what have you got for us? You going at McLaren?
Yes, Rachel, thank you very much. How did you know? First of all, let me tell you what's happening with Alex Dunn's helmet. They put some adhesive tape on it and put some bits on the helmet to stop the buffering, so that should be okay. We've just checked something on the back of Lando Norris's car, but that also looks ready to go. I think the same set of tyres. They've been checking the brake ducts as well, interestingly, on Norris's car, but I think they're all in order. But can I just tell you a little story about being a pit reporter?
Please do.
You know, it's quite a difficult job. We're down here, we're getting sort of pushed around by security people, by mechanics who want us out the way. It's a sort of tough, grimy job, and we're not treated great by the drivers as well. I remember in the BMW Williams days, Ralf Schumacher and Juan Pablo Montoya used to drive at me to get me out of the way. And so it's a pretty tough job. So imagine my surprise, Rachel, when I saw, joining the ranks as a pit reporter in this session, Juan Pablo Montoya of Colombia. Look at him, down here. He's a fellow pit reporter now. Can you see him?
Yes. Why don't you go and have a chat with him about it?
I've been chatting all the time. So welcome to the Guild of Pit Reporters, Juan Pablo Montoya. Now finding out what a sometimes grimy, difficult job this is, being down in the sharp end of Formula One. Welcome to pit reporting, JPM. A pleasure to see him down here.
But you wouldn't be anywhere else, Ted, would you?
I was surprised to see many times over Grand Prix winner and all-round excellent bloke JPM down here. But yeah, I guess, you know, welcome to the pit lane. It's a good job. Stay down here, Juan Pablo.
Monza, the scene of his first ever Grand Prix victory, of course. Ted, I'm sure you were here, wasn't it? 2001, when Juan Pablo beat the Ferraris to victory. Alex Dunn is getting an opportunity to run the soft tyres at the same time as Lando Norris. So that's a good exercise for McLaren to do, isn't it? Is to give him a good reference. We don't know the fuel load, we don't know the engine mode, blah, blah, blah. But at least we know the tyres.
Exactly, they're not giving him just the test driver job of no glory runs. Exactly, we don't know exactly what this run is going to look like for him. But I like that. I think they're testing him. They want to see where he's at. He obviously did an incredible job back at Red Bull Ring earlier in the year. But this is a very different place as well. And he's obviously going very well in F2. But as we've seen in F2 and the graduates that come from F2, they all seem to be operating at very high levels. So fishing between them and working out exactly what you have in a driver and what you can do with them is very, very important, and these sessions really show that.
We've seen plenty, haven't we, coming to these FP1 sessions and not get a run on the softest tyre and just carry out all the data work for the team or the aero work for the team. So yeah, great opportunity for Alex to show what he can do on a track he was on only maybe an hour or so ago in the F2.
And I find it interesting that he's getting that helmet padding in, because I think from an athlete point of view, it shows the loads that these drivers are going through, even at a track like this that's maybe not as long radius corners. It's incredibly tough on the neck, and he's coming from F2. I think he knows he needs to protect his neck for the rest of the weekend, and yeah, his head will be hanging on for sure every time he gets in this F1 car in these early days of running for him.
Lots of physio massages for him to get him back for his F2 again. Right, we are almost halfway through this session so far. Max Verstappen still topping the times of the medium car, the hard tyres.
Yeah, let's take a look at this lap though from Alexander. Pretty neat and tidy through the first chicane, up through the Curva Grande. So he's got Lando behind him on track, and I think there's a few seconds between. There's about 7 seconds. So he's not going to get a toe Lando Norris when he's 7 seconds. Oh, he did the grass there in a way that we saw Paul Allen doing. But he looks calm, doesn't it? He doesn't look like he's attacking it in a particularly aggressive way at the chicane.
It's incredibly calm, but it's also impressive, his track usage. He's right up against the grass on entries, and for me that's a sign of confidence. If you're a bit lost in a car and you don't exactly know fully the width of the car that you have or have the confidence, you find yourself just eking away from those edges of the track. But he has a huge amount of confidence in terms of being in the car and the width of it, which I think is always a good thing when he's jumping in, but he's also not pushing it to the nines.
Yeah, Norris has bailed out of his lap, so Lando clearly not happy with how the lap started. He's backed out of it, and Dunn now comes through the parabolica, stays to the right-hand side, does the Norris trick of trying to get the shortest run to the line. But I wonder. So he's down in 15. I did think he opened the DRS a bit late at the start of his lap, and when I look at the speed trap, I think that's reflected in that. He was only 3:31 on the speed trap, which is a good 9-10 kilometers slower than we saw, from McLaren's earlier, including Alex himself. So I wonder if he's cost himself a bit of time there.
So that should be incredibly subconscious as well. It's done on a beep in the ear. They get a beep to tell them when to shift up, a beep to tell them when to press the DRS, and it just becomes second nature. So that might be a conscious thing from McLaren. I don't know why, but it would be weird for him to miss that, to forget to switch here or to press the DRS.
Max Verstappen's going to focus again overall, this time on the soft tyres. Charlotte Claire's put the soft tyres on for the Ferraris. Let's see what they've got this weekend as we're riding on board with him right now. Don't forget, if you want to see any of the drivers on board, any of the 20 drivers, or listen to their team radio, you can do so. We can provide that for you. All you need to do is download the Sky Sports app to your phone or tablet device, and you can do that. We'll give you a QR code to do that with. Once you're there, log in with your Sky ID. Head to the Sky Sports app channel and choose your driver.
I just slide a lot.
Imagine how everyone else feels. He's at the top of the times.
Log in to choose your driver. Sky Glass, Sky Q, Sky Stream customers. You can also access the experience via the interactive button on your remote control.
So, Alex Albon, at the moment, both Williams cars in the top 4 on the hard tyre. We saw Charles Leclerc abandon his lap. He did good for a second and then bailed out of it when he got to the Lesmos. And this is Albon now, I said, a medium tyre. So, Verstappen on the soft. McLaren went for the soft tyre, but Jamie, we didn't see Lando put in a quick lap, did we? So he's obviously done did his lap, but we didn't see Lando do a lap. We saw him bail out of it.
Not a quick lap in its early days, but it doesn't seem like the soft tyre is working maybe as well for anyone. I know Max is top of the times, but only just under 2 tenths behind Alex Albon, who has a bit of time in the middle sector at Lesmo 1. He's got some traffic up ahead. And just dropping a wheel there on the exit of Lesmo 2. I think we're going to see that all weekend.
Yeah. But he'll pick up a distant toe coming out of it there. This is Lando, so this is where we saw Lando, I think, abandoning. Let's have a look. This is Lesmo 1, always understeer on the way in, and then as the track levels off, it comes back at you. I think he dropped the wheel on the outside of Lesmo 1 and again at Lesmo 2, and then decided, right, enough's enough, I'm going to abort.
So he abandoned that soft tyre. Right, let's quickly go down to Ted. He's got some news on Aston Martin, I believe. Ted.
Thank you, Rachel. Yes, Fernando Alonso, one of the other drivers apart from Max Verstappen, is not finding too much grip out there. In Alonso's case, they decided to make a change to the front suspension. You can just see the middle third, the heat spring in the middle, just being changed on Alonso's. It's part of what they always do, nothing special about it. Yeah, so let's see what Alonso can do, whether that will have given him a bit more feel from the front axle going into the corners. Parabolica particularly, it's going to be interesting. Bit of a challenging weekend ahead for Aston Martin. It's well known their deficiency in high-speed circuits, not so quick in a straight line that car has been all season long. Team radio?
It's okay, Ted, it was Isaac Hedger. Check the floor message from him.
Okay. Just a reminder, talking about interesting weekends, we are behind the scenes with the Aston Martin Formula One team this weekend.
Everyone doing different sort of plans so far.
Red flag. They've got a red flag for some reason.
This could either be for gravel or unless there's been an accident.
No, it doesn't seem to be anyone stopped on track. I think you might be right about the gravel, Tony. There's been a lot thrown up, hasn't there?
Oh, yes. That's Hajar at Ascari chicane, isn't it? So there you go. That explains that. A lot of people on the soft tire at that stage, so they wouldn't have started out. I think it was only Albons on the medium. Everyone else on soft. So it's okay. They it's a track where you haven't got a lot of corners, so, and it's only FP1. You see, look at that, and it's nearly the bottom of the car, the sparks coming off the bottom of that. And again, does he do it at Ascari as well? Oh, he does.
The cars are so wide now that they're finding every little bit that they can get, and often that's a win in the gravel, but
that's not new gravel there, is it though?
No, and that's what we like to see, to be honest, is that's a bigger snap and
bigger deterrent.
Yeah, Lando's run wide there, but I think that's what we want to see, is you don't have this track limits argument. We're not seeing our timing screens come up with track deletions constantly, because they do that, they lose time. Annoyingly, it does drag a lot of gravel onto the track, and that's going to frustrate a lot of drivers throughout the weekend, particularly in those Lesmo 1 and Lesmo 2 sections of the circuit.
Big brushes out, big brooms out to sweep that gravel away, and we will get back running very, very shortly and see if anyone can topple Max Verstappen from the top of the times in the Red Bull at the moment.
Look as hard as possible when I saw the red flag, but it wasn't enough to stay behind the server.
And this is what caused the red flag. This was Isaac Hadjar going through the gravel, sending a huge amount back onto the track, so the sweepers have been out.
Probably spread it a little bit. We'll get it. We won't fix that now. We'll do the rest.
This is a scene in the Racing Bulls garage, and as you were saying, Jonathan Eddles there, just looking at it and then talking about that front edge of the floor. Ted, you're down there at the moment, I believe.
I am, Rachel. It's always a risk using natural sound when mechanics are describing accident damage to the car, don't you think? Jamie, Karun?
I feel like it's a lot of English language.
Yeah, it's always a risk. Mechanics have sometimes a bit of a fruity way to explain damage that's been done to the car. Anyway, well done for those Racing Bulls mechanics who kept it clean there. But yeah, that's not too brilliant.
I tried to look in front, but I think because it was red flag.
Another message there from Charles Leclerc explaining that hopefully, as you say, he will not be penalised for that. It seemed an honest mistake. But yeah, with the latest is that I've seen a lot of mechanics with some just some sort of filler guns and syringes, just filling up the bits of the holes that they can get out, and then they will fix the rest of Hadjar's floor in the break between FP1 and FP2. No lasting harm.
Thank you very much, Ted. We did just see a replay, Karun, of the steering wheel, Charles' steering wheel. The red lights come on, and we were looking at it very closely in combination with where the saddle was. What did you make of it?
I think he'll get away with that. Listen, strictly, the letter of the law, you remember Ollie Behrman got penalised early in the year for overtaking on the red flag. But the stewards will look at this. Oh, yes.
Second time I Williams is on the right, the push, so.
Yeah.
I think on the purpose, the people they can help with that before we get an incident.
Yeah, so Gasly clearly unhappy, and I understand we saw you shouldn't be dawdling on the racing line. But just on Leclerc, I believe that what happens is the stewards look at the closing speed, they look at how slowly the car is going in front, which in this case was the Sauber, how quickly Leclerc was going. When we saw on the last onboard, when the red light came on the dash, he reacted instantly, jumped on the brakes. But don't forget, the Sauber would have also seen the red lights come up and potentially slow down themselves. And so because of that delta and speed, I think they would have been okay with it. And the stewards, in fact, have now put on on page 3, no further action. So I think that's absolutely fine.
Yeah, exactly. And I also think there was no yellow flag ahead of it. The yellow flag rule means that you have to stop as soon as you see a yellow flag. You have to be prepared to stop if you see that. And there wasn't a yellow flag going into it. He reacted as soon as he saw it. I think that's just an unfortunate positioning and timing of the two cars.
All right, well, we've got a new team principal on the pit wall for us this weekend. Haven't managed to speak to him before in our session. Very pleased to welcome Jonathan Wheatley at Sauber. Jonathan, really good to have you along this weekend, and well, some great results recently, and it's good to talk to you. What are you doing in this session so far? How's it been going?
Yeah, it's been pretty smooth so far. Obviously, I'm just talking to you. We're just going on out laps following the red flag. Yeah, this session's pretty much for the drivers is about finding the limits in the various corners, and we've got a pretty good compare between the hard and the medium.
Jonathan, Jamie here. I always want to know, you obviously sat in the pit wall now in a different role to what we've seen before. How different is your role, and what does your role entail in a session like this?
I think I'm just trying to get a bit of more overview on the car's performance, listen to the driver's feedback, see where I can add a bit of value. You know, it's not my first time here in Monza. And yeah, just make sure the program's running on track and that the communication's going well.
Jonathan, I heard a little rumour that you've driven on this track in a Formula One car. Is that true? Can you spill the beans?
Yeah, Crofty can't keep a secret. There's something about this track that's very, very special. You know, I can remember the first time I came here I was towing a McLaren M26 Formula One car here to just prove out the fuel system before handing it over to the customer. And I've done a few laps here in a Formula One car, but not like these guys.
So you're not offering them any driving tips then, okay?
Oh, no, it won't stop me offering the driving tips.
Glad to hear it. Listen, great to talk to you, Jonathan. We'll talk to you again across the weekend. Go well. Thank you.
Thanks. See you in the paddock.
Thank you. All right, so we're back with Carlos Sainz. The Williams were quick early. He's on the soft tyre now. Let's see what we can do this Williams bridge.
Yeah, as he comes up to the line and goes second fastest, so Williams showing well, but am I right in thinking that is a slower time than what he did on the hard tyres? So he's gone softer, so he's gone slower on the soft.
Unless he made a mistake in the middle sector there, that
middle sector was slow, wasn't it?
Unusual.
Yeah, here's Lando Norris, so he's powering on. Another driver, George Russell, complaining about helmet lift, and that's because he's got such high speeds here, higher than we've had anywhere. We'll obviously have that at Mexico later this year. Norris is now coming across the line, so he's on the soft tyre, but only 11th fastest, and the soft tyre is not delivering. Jamie, you mentioned it earlier. We're not seeing the sort of big performance lifts, are we, when people put the soft one on?
Exactly, we're seeing green first and last sectors. Leclerc goes purple in the first sector. It'll be interesting to see what his middle sector looks like here, because they all seem to be losing in the middle sector, where generally speaking, and he's up by quite a lot, so he's found a way to make it work. But generally speaking, the middle sector is where you're putting the most load through the car. You're relying a little bit less on the straight line advantage that you'll get from the quali mode that they'll be in going into these final few runs.
Let's watch him then finish off this lap and see where he ends up on the times. He's going to try and beat that 1:26.92 from Max Verstappen, and he does indeed beat it, 1:20.286. So 4/10 up on Max Verstappen so far for Charles Leclerc. We're waiting for the other decent soft runs. Lando Norris bailed out of his earlier on, so we haven't seen what time he can put in. And Alex Dunn, of course, is in the other McLaren in this session so far today. What's happened here? This is
Williams nearly with a big lock up and straight across turn one there. Ooh, that's going to leave a nasty flat spot, so that's that set of tyres in the bin after that one.
Went on for a long time, didn't it?
Did go off for a long time. I think the slow motion exaggerates it. I think one thing I think is interesting is you've seen a few drivers make mistakes at the first and the second chicane. I always think you should practice the runoff, because in the race, if you end up going through it, there is a bit of a knack to going through it as quick as you can. So I think sometimes in these cases it's a bit better to actually try and practice going through the escape road, because that's what they're going to have to do in the race if they do end up out there.
Especially at the start. We've seen that at the start so many times. It's the third longest run down to turn one from pole, I believe, on the calendar.
Yeah, one of. I mean, it's certainly.
Mexico and Silverstone, the only two that are longer.
Barcelona's.
Well, not according to my stats.
Okay, I am not arguing with your. Is this notebook number 17 for the season?
No, this is one of two big films that last the whole season. Right. 476 metres. Only Silverstone and Mexico are longer. You're shaking your head at me.
Barcelona is nearly 700. From the pole position to the first corner you're talking about.
I'm just reading from the stats.
Which you've written.
No, which we get every week, and I write my own notes on them.
Very good. I mean, Ferrari 1-3, that'll put a few more tickets on the gate for tomorrow if they can carry that form on.
Yes, definitely.
Absolutely, it's looking strong for them so far. Everyone seems to be struggling on the soft tyres. We see Kimi Antonelli put in 1 second away, 1.1 second away.
I often, somebody asked me last week, right, what, you know, in all of the years of doing television commentary on Formula One, what are my highlights? As we see Simona Resta in Italian here working for Mercedes in the pit garage behind Door to World. What have been some of my highlights of broadcasting and commentating? And I do think going on the podium last year when Leclerc won the Grand Prix and standing and seeing a sea of Ferrari fans cheering for him, and he came back out and Simon and Nico and I were standing up there. It's such an amazing memory. And
boys, we haven't doing. We haven't impeded me. Not that it matters to me, but later on in the weekend for you guys.
Yeah, he's completely
understood. Noted.
Completely on the other racing line. I mean, it's totally unnecessary, right? Like, just get off the racing line. We said this again and again in Zandvoort. You're going slowly, just get off the racing line because, as you know, Jamie, drivers have a long memory for this sort of stuff. What goes around comes around.
They do. I'm going to play driver defensive here, but it's not actually always the driver. They're often very reliant on information from the pit wall. There's got loads going on, and they are told from the pit wall how many seconds are coming until the car behind is coming to them. If Binman was told, then that's his fault. If he wasn't told, then you're reliant on your mirrors, and the closing speeds are so great that with mirrors it can be tricky.
They're quite big mirrors. We looked at them on the grid.
You clearly didn't watch FP1 in Zandvoort when we had the same conversation with Jacques Villeneuve, whose conclusion was, turn off the radios, tell them to look at the mirrors more. Because they have become reliant on the radios. The driver, and you look at the judgments that come out from the stewards, often that is the defense of the drivers, isn't it? You know, the team get the fine, the team get the warning, whatever, for not warning the driver. You know, the mirrors on the modern Grand Prix car are bigger than the cars.
Yeah.
Well, they certainly were bigger than the cars in Jack's era, and that didn't happen.
He was pretty vocal about it. Yeah,
I agree.
Yes, the drivers' excuse if the team not telling them.
I have too many drivers' excuses ingrained in my brain.
This is what I was wondering.
Not to share them with our audience.
You've got cameras, haven't you, in your
No, I
sports
wish
cars?
we did. I really struggle. Honestly, I do often struggle with it, and won't bore too many people with the endurance racing side of things. But you have multi-class racing, so you are very reliant on looking in your mirrors. And I find one of the biggest skills from the engineer is how much information they can give you and how well they can give you that information. So I think there is something in it because it allows capacity to think about other things, and these drivers have a lot going on behind the wheel right now.
Indeed they do. Oh, we're just going to replay of Fernando Alonso. What's happened here? He's taken a trip through the gravel by the sound of that.
Yeah, and Ascari as well. So another driver, same as Hadjar. He's basically done exactly the same as Hadjar, isn't he?
And has dragged not as much gravel onto the track, fortunately.
He's so good. He doesn't really like gravel on the track.
Could do the same thing and not cause as much trouble. Right, as Max Verstappen goes through the cloud of dust. Let's go down to Ted, who's in the pit lane. We're waiting to see Lando Norris on a run, but has he just put the mediums on, Ted?
He's just been in for a practice pit stop, and it's actually the practice pit stop I wanted to tell you about, Rachel, because I've been observing McLaren do this. Now, bear in mind the problem they had with the front jack in Zandvoort a week ago, and they've been with the engineers who oversee the pit stop crew. They've been practicing it quite a lot and getting that front jack out of the way to make sure that everyone is as practiced as they can be. Of course, they practice huge amounts of times throughout the weekend, but that's something that they've been doing, I've noticed, in this session, obviously coming a few days after Zandvoort. Part of the problem for that front jack mechanic is that they're so good, McLaren, they're changing the front wheels so quickly, and the driver's getting the green light to go so quickly that it's becoming harder and harder for that front jack to actually get out of the way, to drop the car as soon as the front wheels are on and get out of the way. Of course, something that all teams have to do, but it's, I guess you can say it's a nice problem to have, but I'm glad to say that all practices have been successful while they've been doing it in this session so far.
Great news, Ted. I think it was 1.94 in the Netherlands was their pit stop times for both drivers.
Yeah, listen, it's such a tough job. Right? You're trying to lift the front of the car which is about 400 or so kilos. The rear of the car, you know, when you got fuel on board, sort of 450, 460. You know, that's a lot of weight. You need big, strong mechanics to operate the front and rear jacks of the car.
Rumble with Lewis Hamilton in the Ferrari. Ferrari, of course, carrying the tribute livery to Niki Lauda this weekend. You'll see some extra white on the engine cover in tribute to the wonderful, wonderful Niki Lauda.
I love it. It's
looks good.
Yeah, reminiscent of the 312T, of course, and I think it's great. I'm not convinced about the blue team kit that they're wearing, because I don't know. Call me
I think it
traditional.
suits them.
It's a great colour. The blue, it's a nice blue, but I just think Ferrari should be red. But anyway, Hamilton on a very fast lap here, faster than anybody in the middle sector of the lap, and he's chasing Leclerc's time. 20.28 was the benchmark of Charles Leclerc. There was a little bit down in sector 1. We'll see what the middle sector, the final one. Nice throttle application. Watches his hands. No movement from the car, no sliding, good traction, and comes up at the top of the time. So 1-2 for Ferrari.
Wow.
Here
the crowd will be enjoying that. On their feet. Applause already in FP1. They will be hoping that goes on through the weekend.
And it looked good, the onboard. It looked nice. It didn't look like he was having any big moments, anything like that. It looked all very nice. So yeah, there's got to be a lot of confidence in that team at the moment.
We haven't seen them trying pace yet, though, have we? We haven't. Lando's lap, he aborted his lap on the soft tyres and then had the red flag, so he's now out on medium tyres. So we're going to have to wait to see what they have.
Yeah, 3:43 for Lewis on the speed trap, so that's sort of in the window that we've seen from, you know, most other quick cars have been around a 3:41 to 3:43. You know, the ones who are doing 3:46s aren't necessarily quick around the corners, so George Russell going slowly on the soft.
Ooh.
Oh, cold brakes.
And then hasn't taken to the escape road. He has now.
I think that might be correct, though. I think you have to basically get into the escape road when you get into it. Otherwise, can't go back on himself to get there. But yeah, a little bit caught out there, going slowly and catching the front left.
Yeah, he's been noted. It's got a note on our screens that George has been noted for failing to follow a race director's instructions, escape road instructions, but team radio?
I heard a strange noise with the turbo. I think on the stop.
Okay, we'll check.
But yes, as far as you said with George Russell, he got onto it as soon as he could, and he came back onto the track from the escape road, which is what you're saying is probably what they'll look at.
I think so. In circuits like Barcelona, they have a marker post, and as long as you go around that marker post, it's okay. It's a little bit less clear here because they obviously have this one line that you have to follow, but if you go off like George did there late in the corner, at what point do you then rejoin it? So they'll have that all in their notes, they'll know, and it might be in that instance he should have done something that's slightly different, but it's in practice now where he's got to work that out.
Lawson's carried on, by the way, so I don't know how old the radio message was, but he's carried on across the line. Jen?
I was going to say Ferrari are looking strong in a straight line. Obviously we expect to see Albon and Sainz up there, but Ferrari, they're looking strong.
Showing their hand early in the weekend?
Well, have they turned the engines up?
Well, that's what I was
a
asking.
little bit of Friday headline grabbing performances, so I hope not. I hope this is the performance we get to see when we come to qualifying. I mean, I say, seeing Ferrari win at Monza is an amazing sight, so I'd love to see this carry on to qualifying in the races. This is Behrman going, to illustrate Jamie's point from earlier, having the moment early enough to bail out of it and go straight down the escape road.
And there's a post there.
And there is that post there, which I missed earlier. So you'd have to watch George's onboard back again. He could have run the post. If he could have done, then that's quite clear where he should have been and wasn't.
I was very jealous of you on the podium last year here. When I saw those pictures you all put up, and I was in the pen, hearing the cheers and the roars, I was very jealous. I'm not often jealous of you guys because I have an amazing position, but I did see those and think, wow, I've been up on that podium when it's been empty.
Well, it was amazing. I mean, I remember the other standout from here is being here when Pierre Gasly won in 2020. It was such an emotional moment. You know, being dropped by the Red Bull, and to see Alpha Tauri at that time win on their home race, and the mechanics all crying and stuff. It was so cool to see that happen, and unfortunately there was no crowd with the.
Broken
He's
down.
broken down.
Yeah, pulled off the track. He avoided the lap and he's fully slowed down and pulled off as soon as he could. So.
Sounds like it's running the engine.
Dash is off, is it?
Has he lost power? Has he lost drive?
Some lights just came back on there at the end at the top of the dashboard. We're speaking to Toto Wolff after this session, so hopefully we'll be able to find out what's going on there. But for the moment, we've got a virtual safety car. The drivers will be keen to come back around and try and get their practice starts in if they can.
That also looks like he's immediately come to a stop. Yeah, he was pushing initially in sector 1 and an immediate stop, so and now he's getting out of the car. That is not going to be a good end to the session at all for Mercedes. Often the immediate stop means they're going to try and protect the power unit or something like that, but yeah, losing power, drive, we'll get to the bottom of it at some point.
And also, he's stuck down by the Roger chicane, and that means it's going to take a little bit of time to get the car back to the pits. So, you know, these mechanics will want all the time they can have to, if they have to change things between now and the next session. So that's a little bit trickier for them as well.
And you don't want an even slightly fragile unit around here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it does bring to an end the session, and Lewis Hamilton in a Ferrari at Monza has topped the first session. There will be a smile on his face under that helmet, won't there?
Yeah. I mean, I'd say he needs to enjoy these moments, right?
Yes.
Like, you know, maybe they got the engines turned up, maybe they haven't, and it'll all become clear when we get to qualifying tomorrow, of course. But at the moment, enjoy the fact he's much better off being 1-2 of the times than not. So yeah, absolutely, Ferrari. You know, they should be. It's a good start of the weekend. I think crucially for Lewis, the fact that he's been on par with Leclerc through the session and in the end even a bit quicker, that's what he will particularly enjoy. You know, it's carrying on from Zandvoort, where I thought, you know, apart from the incident in the race, he had a very strong weekend. He was on par with Leclerc in terms of pace.
Absolutely, and I think morale is a big thing. It's very easy. These seasons are so long. You have a bad few races, particularly Zandvoort, as we go on board with George. So let's have a listen.
Okay. Rear are blocked. Sure. Second time.
Okay. I wonder if there's a hydraulic issue, because you saw when it slowed down, when he was steering, I wonder if he's lost power steering. He didn't go down the gears, obviously.
It's the Red Bull and the Sauber nearly getting to each other as well. About to go on board. They're coming in second chicane, kind of reacting to each other. No, it's just all a bit clumsy, to be honest.
The green light is on at the top of the car, so it's in a safe mode, if you like, as a hybrid. So it seemed like a hydraulic issue or something, because the fact that he didn't go down the gears, he was stuck in second gear. It looked like, when he turned the wheel, it looked like he was sort of feeling, ooh, I've lost power steering or something there. So I'm completely hypothesizing. We're sitting in the commentary box and he's way out on the track and we have no data, but that's sort of an early guess.
Good session for Williams. Car sights third quickest, and they were hoping, or it was expected they would go well on in this weekend. James Bowles, team principal, sitting on the pit wall. Jamie, I believe you're heading back to the paddock to go and join Natalie and Martin. We will see you very soon. And here are those practice starts. Karun, as they do those on the grid here and practice that getaway for whatever length that run is down to turn 1. So, pulling away at the moment and going through their procedures here on the grid. So we look down on Max Verstappen, who got that great start in Zandvoort last time and did exactly what he needed to, getting between the two McLarens. Looks like a fairly decent pull away from him. Fourth quickest overall, Isaac Hadjar. What's happened to him here? Oh, this is him coming across George, Kareem.
Yeah. What's happening? He's just going slowly.
overtake, no overtake, no overtake.
Yeah. Don't worry, don't need to shout.
Why you scared me, mate? I don't want the penalty.
Yeah, I know the rule book a little bit, so okay.
He's a great friend of mine. It's a lovely chat with him we had actually, which you'll see tomorrow. Really fun chat and yeah, in great spirits. And it does seem as though it's a when, not if now for that Red Bull seat as we were discussing.
Melbourne 2026, I hope, for his sake.
Yes, let him stay where he is and get the confidence back up. Lewis enjoying all his time on the track here today. As Jamie was saying, confidence-wise, he said it's the best the car's been, and it was a really good, best he's felt in the car through Zandvoort, up until what happened, of course, for him.
Yeah, I do think it was a bit of an unusual session in terms of tyres. Ferrari seemed to get the soft tyre in a window that other people couldn't. They got the lap time, they got the performance. We'll see as the day unfolds whether other people can do the same.
Well, for now, though, he is top of the time. Lewis Hamilton with a 1:20.117, ahead of his teammate Charles Leclerc by just over a tenth of a second. Carlos Sainz, third quickest in the Williams. Then comes Max Verstappen in the Red Bull, half a second behind. Kimi Antonelli is fifth fastest. Then Lando Norris reported his quickest lap. He's in sixth. Alex Albon, seventh quickest, then George Russell in the Mercedes. We'll find out from Toto shortly, hopefully, what's happened to George's car. Fernando Alonso, ninth quickest in the Aston Martin, ahead of Isaac Hadjar. Then it's Gabriel Bortoletto and Nico Hulkenberg in the two Saubers, ahead of Liam Lawson. The other racing bulls, Yuki Tsunoda in the Red Bulls, 14th quickest, ahead of Lance Stroll. Alex Dunn in Oscar Piastri's McLaren for that session. Oscar will be back for FP2. Then it's Esteban Ocon, Pierre Gasly, Oliver Behrman, and Paul Arup, who was in the Alpine for Franco Colapinto. Will return for FP2. We will see you then.
So FP2 will be back for me from 1 p.m. I'll be back for FP2. But until then, we've got Formula 2 still to come. You see the Italian Grand Prix 2 p.m. Then followed by 1 p.m. the practice 2 for Formula 2. And then of course we have qualifying tomorrow early on in the morning, which will be quite interesting indeed. But we will have practice 3, then qualifying as well. But first up, though, from 10:30, I'll be back for Formula 2 for qualifying. See you then. Goodbye.